interesting, so fascinating, so amazing. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. Nah, I'm just kidding. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rena, and today I am bringing you a very special sort of video. As I mentioned in my last video, I am doing multiple videos for my book talk / book discussion about this amazing book right here, ACOWAR by Sarah J. Maas. If you guys are interested, stay tuned. Okay guys, so if you didn't watch my last video, I did a non-spoilery / introductory to my book talk / book discussions about ACOWAR, A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. In that video, I did explain that I wanted to split up my book talk / book reviews about ACOWAR, namely because I have 10 million things to say about this book, namely because it is the ending of main character stories. If you do not want to be spoiled, please keep in mind that you can go back to my first video. I will link it down below. Every video from here on out will have spoilers, but I will mark that accordingly so you guys do not get confused. Essentially what I want to do is do a different video for each part of the book. Now if you have read ACOMAF and read ACOWAR, you do know what I'm talking about. There's part 1, 2, and 3. Each have their own title for each part. In this video, I do intend on covering the prologue and part 1 of the book, which is Princess Carrion, or Carrion. I'm not entirely sure how we're supposed to pronounce it. I'm gonna say Carrion. I don't really know. I'm just gonna flip through my notes. You guys probably thought I was kidding when I said I had a lot to say. I have like 20 pages front and back written on. I have things on my phone that I have written on. I have things in my group message that I've written out. I've written out on. But yeah, let's just jump straight into it. For me, I thought the prologue was very important, not only because it showed the tragedy and the brutality of war, but it also kind of showed a different side of Rhys. Although he did explain that war was hectic for him the first time around, and it was just soul-crushing, and he was just concerned for his friends the entire time, you really do get to see his character do that. For those of you who have not read this book yet, we originally thought, as a fandom, we thought that it was going to be multi-point of view. Like, in a sense, it was going to go back and forth between Rhys and Feyre, but in actuality, Rhys only gets 2 chapters in this book, the prologue and sort of the last chapter of the book, as he did in ACOMAF. In chapter 1, we are now following Feyre as she navigates her way back through Spring Court. Tamlin has arranged for her to have a meeting with Ianthe, or I don't know how to say her name. You guys know who I'm talking about, the priestess bitch. Essentially, this is the first time she's seeing Ianthe since she left Spring Court way back in ACOMAF. And Ianthe's kind of apologizing about how Hybern turned out, about what happened to her sister, and Feyre is kind of controlling herself not to scratch out Ianthe's eyes, because I definitely would have. I don't know how she did it with that much composure. And Feyre accepts the apology, namely because Feyre has to weave her way back into this court, meaning she has to be the person she was when she left. She has to put on this amazing mask of this submissive wife of a high lord. She is a submissive female who has no claim to herself, has no decision making, and essentially just follows whatever everyone else does. But when she does meet with Ianthe, she does kind of let the wolf show a little bit. She kind of did threaten Ianthe. She did tell Ianthe to never betray her ever again. And it was kind of like in that death tone seriousness. In chapter 1, we also get to see my second favorite Spring Court person, namely because Alice is my first Spring Court person. I just gotta throw that out there before I get too far in. We do get to see Lucien again, and when I say we do get to see him again, we get to see the real Lucien, not the one that became submissive to Tamlin after he got his powers back, but the real Lucien, the friend that was helping Feyre, because in chapter 1, he does push back and he kind of yells at Ianthe, kind of in a snapping back type of tone, and I was really glad for that. Starting his character development, I guess, in chapter 1. Chapter 2 marks the arrival of Jurin and Hybern, essentially. Hybern has finally made moves to move into Spring Court, his envoy just being Durin, the king of Hybern's niece and nephew, Princess and Prince Creepy, as my group chat calls them. I honestly don't remember how to say their names, but I just call them Princess and Prince Creepy because they're creepy. In this chapter, it kind of shows you just how cold and cruel and creepy they are. Hybern no longer has need for compassion or, like, feeling other than violence, I suppose. In this one, my favorite quote is sort of like right at the beginning after Durin arrives. Farrah insults Durin and Durin's like, careful. And she's like, what are you gonna do, throw me in the cauldron? And I was like, the snaps, girl, yes. Before I get too weird into this. When Durin arrives, he kind of has this whole rant with Farrah about her High Lord, and he's obviously talking about Rhys, not Tamlin. And I kind of like had to throw that in there in this little review because I was like, even Durin knows. He knows the truth. But Princess and Prince Creepy are Diamatis, which are the people that like can control minds and shit. But I thought it was really cool that like Farrah sort of challenged them. They're trying to work their way into Tamlin and Lucian's mind, and Farrah kind of just like snapped a shield over everyone, and she kind of like dug her talons down their shields, and they kind of like glared at her, and I was like, yes, bae, you're so powerful, I love you. See, as you guys can see, obviously I'm only on chapter 2 and I'm however long into this video. And I still have like 8 more chapters to go. In chapter 3, we have a revelation. Lucian is sort of warning Farrah about whatever she plans to do, it will get them in real shit or whatever. And I thought that kind of showed like, friend Lucian. That was anytime Lucian did something for the sake of Farrah, I kind of was like, friend. I know I'm like getting really weird, but this book makes me so emotional. My boyfriend has literally listened to me for like a month straight just rant about this book. And he's never read any of the books, so he's been a true player. So at least you guys know something about this book. So I'm super glad. Tamlin did not participate in this event. He outright refused to participate, and as consequence, Lucian had to step up, and unfortunately the maiden that he hunted down was Ianthe. Literally, like, right next to that note, it just says barf. I'm not even gonna... Before chapter 3 ends, we get to see my favorite spring court person. Essentially, really, she should be like a summer... She technically is a summer court person, but I'm gonna call her... Because she resides in spring court right now, I will call her my favorite spring court character. And that is, of course, the Fae Mom / Fae Aunt, Alice. I'm so glad she made a reappearance in this book, and I was just essentially like, she was the one person I was really scared for, because not only is it her, but she also has her nephews. I didn't want anything to happen to her. The one line that stuck with me the most in that entire exchange between Farrah and Alice is when Alice kind of looks at her and she kind of says, everyone else says you came back wrong. And then Alice like wisely says, like, I think you came back right. Like, she finally found her place, and I was like, yes, Alice, like, I love you so much. I'm gonna keep moving on, because I feel like if I linger too long, I'm just gonna keep talking and talking, I'm just gonna waste so much time. In chapter 4, it focuses mainly about the summer solstice. Let me tell you guys, this part was so hilarious to me, because in this part, like, Ianthe really thought it was gonna be about her, and then Farrah was like, nah, bitch. Like, huh, the sun chose me. The entire time during, like, Ianthe's speech, she was just she was just throwing shade at, like, Farrah's home court. She's like, drive away the darkness, da-da-da-da. And you're just like, Ianthe, you're just, please, shut the fuck up. Like, I hate you so much. In the long run, this does play into Farrah's sort of giant intricate scheme about overthrowing this court. She wants to undermine everyone. She wants to undermine Ianthe's position as the priestess. She wants to undermine Tamlin as the High Lord. And I don't know if I was entirely okay with Farrah using Lucian like that. I understand that she did it to keep, like, Tam Bam away, but at what cost? Chapter 6, Ianthe is being an amazingly annoying, attention-seeking crybaby. I literally had to write it down. And we also find out what happened to Rhys's family's wings. And that was just, when I read that part, I kind of I felt like Farah, like everything got silent and I just felt this white rage and I was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, I swear to God. In chapter 7, the first thing that I did put down is that when the princess and Prince Creepy saw the children of the blessed, if you guys didn't notice it, but Jurin sort of moved to, like as a wedge between like the scary fae and the mortals. For me, this sort of shows that Jurin is more of a complex character than we really like thought, because you think about it, yes, he went crazy or whatever, but in the long run, Jurin fought for the mortals. He wanted freedom for his people. So he is a very multi-faceted character. He has different faces, he has different complexities, and we don't know who really Jurin is or who he really fights for as of right now. If you finish the book, you obviously know who he really fights for. Another thing that I will say about Jurin is that he knows the true Rhys. He knows who Rhys was and what Rhys stood for. Like, he fought alongside Rhys in the battlefield. And Jurin just knows that centuries, eons could never change who Rhys really was, because Rhys only ever wanted the good for people. And he truly believes, like, Jurin truly believes that Rhys could not have changed. So he knows the true face of Rhys. In chapter 8, it does start out with Farah and Lucien versus Tamlin in an argument about what they did to Princess and Prince Creepy. For me, one of the important parts of this argument was that what Farah said, and it was very political. The one thing that stuck with me that kind of follows up right at the end of the book, that plays a bigger picture into the peace of Prythian, is that mortals and fae cannot find peace with the attitude that, oh, well, that's not part of my species. Like, why do I care if they die? And another thing in chapter 8 that happens very, very, very meticulously. And it's on purpose with the intent of undermining everyone else. And this is, of course, Farah egging Tamlin on to exploding. She's been in this situation before where Tamlin has exploded, literally exploded with power, and her shield obviously saved her in ACOWAR. But this time, Farah does it to the point where he literally explodes and she chooses not to heal. She even wills the magic of healing to slow. He literally, right before he explodes, right after he sends Lucien out, she throws her net out and just to make sure that people are listening, make sure that there are no shields in place. And when he explodes, she kind of lets herself get beat up and fly across the room and get her head cut and everything. Get bruised up everywhere. But what Farah is doing with it is to show that Tamlin is not an honorable man. He will lay hands on a woman. Right after Tamlin explodes, Rhys opens the bond, their mating bond, and is like, he's concerned for her. And for, like, in my group chat, we had a giant discussion about this because it's essentially you're sitting front row and you can see the love of your life being abused by someone else. And this is very hard. This is very traumatic, not only for Farah, but also for Rhys. Because Rhys, he's so mad he wants to hurt Tamlin for hurting his mate, but at the same time, he lets her choose it. Like, I think the line that stuck with me the most that Rhys said was like, I know better than to ask you to come home, but da-da-da-da-da. And like, so he gives her the choice of staying there because it is her choice. It's not like she needs permission from him, but it's literally his equal's choice on doing this for the greater good. The last great thing about this scene that essentially sets the spring court up for failure is the fact that Ianthe has now proven to be the biggest, whiniest, attention-seeking baby. When this sentry was, like, tied up and Farah was playing the hero and, like, I want to hear his story, and Tamlin's like, no, like, why though? And for me, I thought that was, like, the worst thing that Tamlin can do, because Sarah literally wrote it out, and she was like, these were the same sentries that went over the wall for him, that were willing to die for him, and now he won't stand up and hear his story for 5 minutes. And for Faze, it's not even about the physical retribution or the physical punishment that they're going to receive. It's the fact that it's honor lost. That's This guy could be centuries old, and if his honor is lost in the eyes of his high lord, then that's it. There's no redeeming himself anymore. And Fair stepping up to be the hero, wanting to hear it, and then just continuously playing the good guy in the eyes of Spring Court. She literally set this court up good to fall. I was just, that scene was amazing to me. In chapter 9, it is a setup of Farrah literally getting ready to leave, and for me, I literally, like, guys, you have no idea. I was crying when Alice said she was leaving too. Like, I understand, like, Alice is my favorite character in Spring Court, and now she's no longer in Spring Court. I'm not really too concerned about it falling, but it's the fact that, like, she accepted Farrah for who she was. You know what I mean? Like, from the way beginning, all she ever did was nurture Farrah. She truly loved Farrah as a friend. And it was like, it was so sad to see her go, because I'm not really sure whether we're going to see her in the spin-offs or not, but, like, oh, guys, you have no idea. I was bawling my eyes out. My boyfriend was, like, looking at me like I was a weirdo. So after the whole scene about Alice telling her that she's leaving and now that they're in the woods, and Farrah's literally about to leave, she's, like, walking away from the thing. She has her whole plan set up about how the Spring Court is going to fall. We see Ianthe has handcuffed our small autumn baby Lucian. Guys, let me tell you, in my group chat, we were just, boom, like, everyone was like, fuck no, like, oh my god, you're such a bitch, like, there was curse words, there were, like, threats flying across everywhere. What I really liked in this is that Farrah had the option of leaving Lucian, and she did not. Whew! The first fight scene of the book, and I'm super glad for it. Honestly, I love Sarah J. Maas's fight scenes. They are just so engaging. I feel like I'm standing there and watching them, like, dodging swords as they fly through the air or whatever. But it was so interesting to see, especially my second time around reading it. I loved it, like, even more, because although they didn't suffer enough, I think that what Farrah did and how her and Lucian worked, like, back to back was perfect. Also, before she truly leaves Spring Court, you realize she took another political decision to not overtake Spring. Like, she like, waited politically. She was like, well, we could take Spring, but, like, other courts could take pity on Tamlin and then just side with Hybern anyway. And you thought, like, how, like, she's, like, every thought that her friends, Reese, the other High Lords, everyone has thought this through properly. Like, they're all, like, picked it through politically. Like, she was like, we could easily take Spring Court with Cassian, like, overseeing it and everything, but, like, it's too far from our home court, like, and everyone would pity Tamlin inside, like, Hybern or whatever. For me, I thought part 1 of this book was very intricate. That's literally the word that keeps popping in on my mind. So intricate in the schemes and the political stances that they have to take, essentially. I really enjoyed part 1, although I will say that the pace in part 1 was the slowest pace of the entire book. I think namely it's because there's so much intricacy in the schemes and the espionage that it has to be slow. It has to be a slow process. I think there's, like, there's a quote in this book that Farrah says that, it was even one of the spoiler quotes. It was like, her goal was bigger than, the goal was bigger than revenge, and she couldn't really just, like, so essentially she couldn't just deal out revenge and just go home. She had to think about the war. She had to think about the future of Prithian and all of that stuff. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys did stick it out to the end, what were your guys' thoughts about part 1, about Princess Carrion? Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys thought about the book. If you guys liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see the rest of my videos, definitely check out my channel. If you guys want to continuously hear my annoying voice and listen to my amazingly weird and creepy, nerdy fangirl rants, definitely hit the subscribe button down in the bottom bar. Yeah, so thanks guys. Bye! It's so awkward.